What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Down to the Wire podcast. I'm your host, Brian Costa, and today we have a very special episode for you guys. For anyone who follows the show, you'll know that I like to, obviously report on the sports that happen throughout the week, but I also like to switch things up here and there, and I like to interview athletes, from all sports. Most recently on the show, you probably saw me interview athletes such as Adam Alita and Michael Green III, some, former and current Bryant basketball players. But today I actually have a really special episode for you guys, as I'm going to be interviewing, a personal friend of mine, and a track athlete, and specifically a shot put thrower. So without any further ado, welcome into the show, Curtis Rocheleau. Curtis, how we doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, man.
Dude, I am glad to have you on the show. It is, I've been in talks with you about this for, I'd say, some time now.
Yeah, I was a little hesitant at first, especially with the current situation that I'm in, as you know that I've talked to you about and all that. But I'm happy I'm making this decision. I like it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and obviously, I will talk about that current situation later on in the show. But I also wanted to bring you on to talk about, your journey as an athlete, to becoming a Division I athlete. So, why don't you kind of explain to people at home, like, obviously, like where you're from, what you're doing, specifically, and I'll let you take the floor.
So I'm from Little Whitensville, Massachusetts. So I school choice to Sutton. That's where Brian and I met doing
Yeah.
track and field. And I originally started off playing golf, and that was my main sport. I was like gung ho, wanting to play that in college and everything, but it just didn't come together in competition, and I just like couldn't do it. It was very tough on me mentally, and dealt with a lot of mental health issues. And then junior year, I had like a lucky break and threw a mark that allowed me to get into the state meet, where I ended up meeting the top thrower in the state. And he's like, "Hey, man, you have potential. Why don't you come train with me at this coach? And he can take you to the next level." And I was like, "You know what? Let's do it. I really have nothing going on in my life, so I don't have anything to lose at this point." And that's where it all started. I started training with the guy up in Maine in March, early March, and he ended up taking me to the next state meet in outdoors, throwing a further mark of 43 feet, something like that, which was impressive to me at the time. I thought I was hot shit to say.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel
And,
you.
um, but it was a reality check because going into the state meet, I ended up placing like fifth in shot, and I didn't even get into finals for disc. I want to say
Yeah.
I might have, but I don't remember. It was so long ago.
Yeah, and obviously, maybe many of our fans, may not be as equipped with track and field. So, I know for me personally, for anyone who doesn't know, I actually ran track in high school, and me and Curtis, as he just mentioned, we were on the same track and field team, and we were able to have some pretty great memories through there. I hung up a bunch of the championship shirts because our school back in high school absolutely ran our local conference, and we were just on top of the world. Kind of, I know that you kind of came over from some other schools where you maybe have done track in the past, but what kind of got you really interested into track, and maybe throwing specifically? Was there kind of an aspect of maybe training for some other sports like golf, or was it more just or was it like a friend or someone who really got you into it?
So I went to the same school as my sister where she graduated. I went to St. Peter Marian in Worcester, and I wasn't really doing anything in the winter. So my sister was like, "Hey, why don't you do track? It'll help keep you active, and you'll have fun. You can make some new friends." And I was like, "Sure, why the hell not?" And I took it. I started doing it, and then I had some issues with my knees,
Mm.
basically really bad growing pains. As you know, I complained about that a
Oh,
lot.
I know you complain about it a lot.
So I took up throwing because like I didn't have to do as much running for that,
Mhm.
and all I had to do was a 50 at my school. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna do
Not
that,
bad.
and I ended up loving it and wasn't good at it, but it was fun to do, and I was staying in somewhat decent shape.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I know for me personally, it was a very similar kind of situation. I know one of my better friends at the time, John Warren. I still talk to him through this day. I still have him on the show. He ended up going to a different high school, but in 8th grade or so, he approached me and he said, "Hey man, we got a baseball season coming up, even though it's like it's a town season, it's not JV or anything like that. You want to get in shape for it and you want to do some stuff, like let's join the track team. Let's do that stuff." And I was like, well, how far do I need to run? Like, and he goes, minimum 50 meters. I was like, I'm in.
Yeah,
I was like,
exactly.
perfect. If I can sprint, I'm good.
Exactly. That's what
Because I
drew me
had
in.
because I had absolutely no long distance stamina. I mean, way back when you told me to run a mile, like, as a race, kind of a mile, I was dying. I was gassed. I could not do it.
Yeah.
It was awful. I mean, it was actually really bad. I remember one year I tried to go on like a distance kind of workout, and I mean, I thought I was gonna pass out. I thought I was gonna die on the middle of the road.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I used to run cross country in middle school and I wasn't bad at it. And then like the knee problem started and I just stopped running and I got fat. So my sister was like, do track, it'll help you lose weight and you'll get in shape. And I was like, oh yeah, for sure. Let's do that. That
Oh
sounds
yeah.
sick.
Yeah, no, because I think for many people, I mean, track is something that, it's not like I don't think many people, grow like wake up and maybe like the sons of like, former like Olympians, like will be like, I want to be a track athlete. But like when you're growing up, it's like, oh, I want to be this baseball player, I want to be this football player, or I want to be this golfer or something like that.
Right.
And that's kind of how you grow up. And then, track kind of for me was when I first did it was more of like a training regimen. And like as you were kind of saying too, but
Yeah.
then, over time, I kind of did develop a love for it where, my freshman year of high school, my dad said to me, "Hey, Brian, do you want to like try out for the basketball team?" I was like, "No, I want to do track. I really like what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
I really want to do this." And it became really something that I enjoyed. Now with something like throwing, that I didn't really, I don't believe, got into throwing, at least until like halfway through my sophomore year. And it was actually kind of, ironically, maybe when I met you, I feel like you probably coaxed me into it at
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
point.
Probably.
You probably just said, "Brian, let's throw." I was like, oh boy, this will be fun.
Yeah.
I was like, this will be really interesting, Curtis. You sure you really want me to do this? And you're like, yeah, let's do it. But obviously you did something like some sprints and stuff like that. When did throwing kind of, come to the equation for you? Did it come in like that first couple of years, or did it take some time before you realized that was something that you wanted to explore?
It took me till I broke 40 feet.
Really?
The junior year, I got my first college letter saying, "Hey, we're interested in you." I was like,
Really?
"Oh, wow, first time for everything." So I was like, maybe this is my sport, and
Hmm.
that's where it kind of like took over. I'd
Yeah.
always, like you said, I had a love for it, and because it's like a family, like
Oh yeah,
it's a
no.
giant family. You go to practice, you hang out with your buddies, and
Yeah, and for like
it's a
those
good time.
yeah, and for those couple months through like I'd say like, basically the Monday after Thanksgiving is when we all started through, good portion of February. That's like that those were like your guys. And that's who you
Yeah.
hung out with. And it was like that was kind of like the close knit group that you hung out every day with after school. That's where you were.
Yeah, and it was probably the most fun because like I didn't do anything during the winter. So having that thing to do after school, because for me, sports were a big outlet to help me like stay focused in school.
Yeah.
It made me want to be there.
Yeah.
So having that there, like, oh, I have track practice after school, it got me through the day. So
Yeah, that was always something with me. I mean, I don't know if you had this actually. Well, you kind of did you did like all three sports seasons. For me, I didn't do a fall sport ever,
mhm.
and that fall sports season was always the longest part of the school year because I was
Yeah.
always just itching to get to Thanksgiving. I was like, let's get to Thanksgiving, let's get to Thanksgiving. Then it's track, and then it's baseball, and we're rolling. And that part of the school year for me always flew by. But those first couple months until I could get into track, it always was a drag to me, and it always felt like such a lull because I tried to do some fall ball, tried to do some stuff here and there with baseball,
Yeah.
but it just never really hit the same. And like, even that month when fall ball would end and like until track would start, that was like just such a drag. And it always felt like so long. It was like, come on, it needs to get here now. And obviously when it came to me doing shot put, I think it really did kind of come into play when you came to Sutton. So I kind of a funny story when you showed up. So you're a year younger than me.
Yeah.
So you graduated last year. I graduated in 2019. Funny story I remember having was I was a sophomore in high school. And I remember I just see you show up to a practice one day. I didn't know who you were, and I remember just asking, like, I thought I'm obviously knew you had transferred in, but
Yeah.
I was like, I remember coming up to you and I was like, hey, how come you only transferred in? How come you only transferred in here when you only got 1 year left of high school? Because I immediately just had assumed
Yeah.
just because of just your physical size and like just like how mature how mature like you looked. I figured like this guy has to be a senior, and I was like, wait, you're joking? Like you're a freshman?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, and then I was like, man, like if this guy does shot put and he's only doing this as a freshman, God, it's gonna be scary as a senior.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what always stuck out in my mind. And I remember obviously when you did shot put, you talked about only breaking 40 feet like your junior year of high school. I mean, I never broke 40 feet. The furthest I ever got was 34, and I'm still proud of that to this day because
Yeah, I mean, it's an accomplishment.
I placed like sixth in the DVC meet.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll take that. But one of the things that it was kind of remarkable about you throughout your career was 40 feet as a junior and or just kind of breaking it as a junior. And for anyone who doesn't know shot put, like me personally, when I was doing it, obviously, like I didn't take it as seriously as Curtis did. I improved kind of on an average of about 2 feet every year, 2 to 3 feet every year. And it was like, hey, like making like chunks of progress.
Yeah.
And I remember like you kind of had it's like a similar kind of trajectory,
Yeah.
but you were maybe more like, 3.5 feet. And like you were making like solid marks every year.
Yeah.
And I remember your junior year, and you mentioned at the beginning of this episode, you ended up going to, meet some guys, through shot put, and you ended up meeting the number one shot put thrower in the country, Aiden Felty.
Yeah.
And man, for anyone who doesn't know who Aiden Felty is, we ended up running into this guy, and I remember just
He is
hearing
a
about this guy.
beast.
It was, first running into him, it was like a spectacle, like in track, because like no one on the track field, typically, is above the team. It's usually like, hey, like let's get this team victory, let's get this,
Yeah.
and like obviously there are some individual things, but it was more always like team centric, and like there is like individual aspects of it, but it's like if we get the team win, we're all here for it. When Aiden Felty would go into a shot put circle, like you'd be at like the place where he was throwing, and like the loudspeakers would come on, and it would say the number one shot put thrower in the country, Aiden Felty, is now throwing in the shot put circle.
Yeah, it was
It was the weirdest thing I had ever seen, but also like one of the coolest things too, because it was such a spectacle.
yeah.
And I mean, like this dude goes out here, and I didn't even think it was possible to like throw over like 50 something feet. This guy goes out here, he throws 67 feet in the circle.
Oh, I know.
And I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing?
Yeah. And I think for me, the biggest thing was like everybody at the meet would go to watch.
No,
Like
yeah, it was insane.
It almost seemed like the meet would stop. At least if you weren't running an event.
Yeah, if you weren't running, like
or
people
jumping,
were, yeah,
like everybody was over there. Like you couldn't get into the front row to watch. Like it was hard to be able to see it, but like
people were over there for his warm-ups.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then
it was like watching Babe Ruth take batting practice. It's like hey, you have a chance to go watch this guy. We're gonna go watch this guy just huck some stuff.
It's like, and like even if you were like you couldn't see him in the circle throw, you saw the ball fly.
Yeah, and you saw it fly further than
high in the air, and it
went further than you ever thought a shot put could go.
Yeah, he threw it at the Reggie Lewis Track and Field Center in Boston, and they had like boards to stop the shot to
stop it from rolling, by the way, just to stop it from rolling and hitting the wall.
He threw it over the shot, like over that, and that day they're like, yeah, we got to get rid of these things.
Yeah, it was like these things are pointless. This guy's just gonna he's just gonna break them.
Yeah, and I think it was more so like they were afraid it was gonna hit it, and then he wouldn't get like an official mark because
that's true.
It wouldn't be an exact thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
those things were out there at like 65 feet.
Yeah, and he was just like, I can hit that.
Yeah, he was like, that's cute. I'm throwing over that now.
Exactly. I'm just gonna throw 70 today.
Yeah.
It was absolutely wild. And I mean, I also remember just seeing the guy. I remember he like warmed up with like Halo music and stuff like this. It was actually kind of funny, like, what this guy went into. But you said like you were able to kind of meet with him and a bunch of other guys too that were really good at their craft, like Joe Rivers and other guys like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of brought up to you this this kind of throwing program that you were able to take on, slingshot throws.
Yeah.
You want to maybe tell the viewers a little bit about them?
So slingshot throws was a program up in Maine, in Scarborough, Maine, originally, and it was just like a close knit group of throwers, and like we would accept everybody. Like there was nobody. Like
Yeah.
we wouldn't be like, oh, you're
You,
not serious about this.
I
No, it was
I
like a
I would
social
I
club
would have
kind
gotten
of.
kicked out because I suck now.
No, you would not have. You would have been accepted with open arms. Like it, those guys are like my brothers now. Like
Yeah.
the coach Brian Woodbury, he would hold like private sessions for people, and I would usually go up there for private sessions because I really wanted to learn and I needed to learn fast if I wanted to go Division 1. And I would end up staying there and throwing for like 4 hours with the guys. And he like right after my private sessions, they would have like group sessions where all of the big throwers, and there was Matt Brady from UConn there. Every now and then Aiden would come up from Mass as well. Jacob Goff, who throws at Bates now.
Yeah, and I mean, and one thing I forgot to mention about Aiden Felty when you're probably going to bring it up. This guy who we saw, he's now throwing at Duke University. So
Yeah.
like these guys, like, where did Joe go on to throw?
Joe Rivers actually is playing football at Bentley. He's not
Okay.
throwing. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, good for him.
I mean, Goskowski, the old kicker for the
Steven
Pats,
Gostkowski.
he holds the Florida State record in shot.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, and I think Stephon Gilmore threw 60 feet and a lot. If you look at like
that's crazy.
Past like New Balance national meets, like for indoor and sometimes outdoor, you'll see a lot of pro football players in there.
Yeah, I mean, even just throughout all different sports. I mean, we talked about it recently on the show. DK Metcalf, receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, was trying to qualify for the Olympics in the 100-meter dash, and he's doing it at 6'3", 230. And
that's insane.
And he ran a 10.36 at that weight, which is incredible.
Yeah, that is insane. I mean, Usain Bolt is tall. I don't know his exact height, but yeah, he's got to be over 6 feet, but he's not.
But he's lean. He's very exactly. Like,
it's just crazy seeing that, and I'm happy to see that because it's like drawing attention to the sport now. Like, oh, DK Metcalf is throwing or
running,
not throwing. There was a thrower in the NFL, a few of them actually.
I can imagine.
Through in the Olympics, I forget his name, but he's in the NFL Hall of Fame, and he won silver at the Olympics.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So, but as you were saying, like you went to go meet all these guys at slingshot throws, and they helped you out tremendously. I mean, so as I was saying, I improved maybe by 2 feet a year, and I was like taking that. And you went out to slingshot throws, and how many feet did you improve by?
For indoor marks, if you look on the websites that hold all the official marks and everything, I improved by over 10 feet.
In 1 year.
Yeah, in 1 year.
It's insanity.
Yeah. Well, if you look at other people, like my other buddy Josh Bradford, he throws at UMaine right now, and he had a phenomenal season this year, and he has one of their top marks now at UMaine. He's
That's
in the
awesome.
top 10 all-time list. And he was throwing like 53, 55 feet his junior year, and his senior year he ended up breaking 60.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I remember one meet, Dartmouth Relays in New Hampshire at Dartmouth College. It's a big event, like big meet, and a lot of people from all over New England go. And he at that time, Josh had only thrown like 55 feet, and I say only like I threw it.
Like if you're throwing 55 feet, that's like special.
That's still pretty. That's like you can get a scholarship with that money.
Yeah, and a good one too.
Yeah,
pretty decent one at least.
Any scholarship's a good scholarship.
Exactly.
In my opinion.
Yeah, true. They're paying for you to go there.
Yeah, so
you'll take it.
But he had been like struggling to save throws, and he's been like really close to finally getting that big mark. And I remember like hearing over the loudspeaker on one of his last throws in the finals. Can we have a moment of silence for our old track coach that recently passed away? Then you just hear silence. Boom, boom, boom. Ah! He threw 60 feet. Everybody from Slingshot screaming, "Let's go, Josh!"
Oh,
and
boy.
You just hear, can we have some silence over in the shot put area?
That's such a conflicting thing.
Yeah, it's like we're all trying to hold it in. We just can't. We were all so excited for
That's
him because at the time, that put him at the #1 mark in the country.
that's insane.
Yeah, so it was a crazy spectacle to see.
Yeah, so this slingshot throws, obviously, they were able to help a ton of throws, yourself included. And I remember your junior year. I wrote an article about it at the time when you actually set the outdoor record. What was it at the time? Like when you had set it, probably like 43 or
I
something
think it
like
was at
that.
like 42 feet.
Yeah, it was like 42 feet, and I was like, hey, there we go. Curtis might be able to get up to like 46 the next year.
Yeah.
And obviously COVID kind of put a kind of a thing on the spring semester, but you go back into the next winter in the next winter season. And what did you end up like how far did you end up being able to like run up your record? Like I feel like there were a couple meets where you just like breaking it like
Yeah. So the very first meet, obviously, I set the record,
yeah,
and I had
because it was like probably like 42
it
also or
was
something like that.
40. I think it was 43 feet.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Indoor record was further than the outdoor record.
Okay, yeah.
And I threw 49.9, and I was
Mhm.
like, all right,
We'll take
sweet,
it.
season opener, massive PR. That's like because
Exactly.
before that, the only meet I competed in that I PR'd and I threw 47 feet, and I was like, ah, sweet, 2 feet, 2 foot PR, I'll take that.
Exactly.
And I ended up going to the Winterfest meet. That was always a fun meet to go to.
Mhm.
I ended up finishing second,
Yeah.
and
That's
not for
crazy.
the reasons that you think. I threw 42 feet at the meet. I completely choked and was like, I'm gonna win this thing. I stepped into the circle and I was horrid. I didn't even get to throw past 45 feet. And my coach drove down from Maine with a couple of people to come watch, and they just look at me in defeat. Like,
We
are
failed
you
you.
serious, bro?
We
Like,
failed you.
you just threw 49 feet. This was your meet to break 50. And then like it was in my head the whole season. And I had like a dual meet where I threw 52 feet and I just fouled it. I fell out of the circle and I was like, dude, this sucks, man.
Mhm.
So as the season progressed, I was like averaging around 47, 48. I had a few
Yeah.
49-foot throws. But it was still like trying to get back into the groove because like I'd gotten in my head and it was getting out of my head. And like districts came along and DVC's conference meet came along. I threw 49.11 at the meet.
Mhm.
And I remember uh Mr. Anderson saying, "Man, you just keep breaking that record, don't you?" I was
Can
like,
you
"Oh,
ever
this is
can,
only the
can you
second
ever
time
just
this season."
decide?
He's like, I was like, "This is the second time I broke it. I haven't broken it that many times this season." And he's like, "You broke it twice this season?" I was like, "Yeah, it's not that much." And then like districts came along. I placed second at that because like we had Joe Rivers in our district, so like it wasn't
It's
much of a
tough.
chance for me there.
Yeah.
I love that kid. He's my best friend now. I talk to him all the time.
Mhm.
But there was no way in hell I wanted to beat him, but there was no way in hell. And like up to that point, he wasn't having a fantastic season either. Because
Yeah.
like I don't know if you paid attention the year before, but like as a junior, he was like at district meet, he threw like 50 feet, 52, 53,
It
54.
was just ramping up.
Yeah, it just kept ramping up throughout the season.
That's
At the
crazy.
end in championship season, it was crazy
Mhm.
to watch. And he was throwing like 53 feet. He like pulled his hamstring early in the season and he was just like getting back into it. And I was like, I might have a chance. I have to like blow out. I threw
I mean,
49.11 again.
he might be down, but I have a chance. I might be able to.
Yeah, and I threw 49.11 and he comes out of nowhere and threw 58 feet. I was like, Joe, I love you, but
What the hell?
what the hell, man? I really wanted to win this meet.
It's
And
like, ugh, that's so tough.
to be fair, it probably was further. The officials at that meet were Garbo. Like,
Really?
I had to throw two throws over 50 feet at the meet, and they were called foul, and they were not fouls.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I have a good sense of what's a foul or what's not,
Yeah.
being in the situation that I like, knowing and how long I've been in the sport. Um, but then it was like states came along and I threw 49.11 again. I was like, oh, it's getting close. I'm gonna have a breakout soon. It's gonna happen soon. And then like that 49.11 just barely got me into the all state meet.
Okay.
And as you know, it's like top four,
Yeah.
top five of each state meet.
Mhm. It's crazy.
And um I just slipped into the big boy group of throwers, the big boy flight, which is the second flight, and I was the first thrower.
So
So like,
you're setting the precedent.
yeah, setting the tone for the meet of like all these big guys. There's like in Massachusetts, is like I think the upcoming state for throwing because
It's really impressive. I mean,
they
obviously you're going to go down to Texas. You're just going to have some
yeah
you're just going to have some horses and some absolute
yeah
freaks of nature down there. But Massachusetts, the little state up here, we have some really good throwers
yeah
up here. I mean, just New England in general, but it's really impressive what we
yeah
can do.
my graduating class up to that point was one of the better classes for
Yeah,
throwers because there was like 6 throwers over 50 feet,
that's crazy.
and I was like, I really want to go to New England's. I really want to go to New England's because like that's one more chance I can qualify for nationals. First throw, I threw 50 feet 6, and that was like
Wow.
huge for me. I was like, I finally did it, and then
You broke
I
it.
could just go, just do whatever I want, not worry. And then
Yeah.
I remember my second throw, I threw 49 feet, and usually I would save that throw, but I was like, I don't want it. I fouled it. I was like, wow, that's weird for me. Then my third throw, I threw 50 feet 10, and I was like, sweet, I'm in the finals. This is fantastic. Uh, let's get her going. Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Then like my first throw in finals, I threw 51 feet flat, and I was like, yo,
It's happening.
this is crazy. Fouled the fifth throw, and then the last throw I threw 51-7. So I PR'd 4 times in that one meet,
That's crazy.
and I was on cloud 9.
I can only imagine.
Coach Gillen,
Was that probably one of your probably like favorite track moment?
oh, almost.
Yeah. All right. I'll have you explain. I'll have you tell
Yeah.
that one later. But yeah.
But Coach Gillen, I remember because my dad was in out of state for one of my sister's softball tournaments. So
Yeah.
it was my mom and Coach Gillen at the meet with me and I think Jen left earlier at the meet.
Yeah. Jen Casino was, obviously one of the high school runners at the time.
Yeah, she was a phenomenal runner. And he just I step out of the circle with the biggest grin on my face, and the first thing he does was hug me, and we both start crying like I finally did it. It was like tears of joy, and it was like I don't have a picture I have a picture on the podium, but you can't really see my face too well, but you can. I was like tearing up on the podium.
I can imagine.
Was so
Yeah.
happy. I felt like a winner that day, even though I finished 4th at the meet, which is like I got all state. So
Yeah. No, it's
I,
good.
and, I was like, yo, this is awesome.
Mhm.
And I was able to go to New England's. It's top 6 in the state go to New England's, and most of the top 6 I knew all of them. From Slingshot or Joe Rivers, who wasn't a Slingshot athlete, but I just know him from being at all these meets.
Yeah.
And it was awesome because like all of my buddies were going to the New England meet, and then like I had all my main friends coming down to watch the meet, or they were competing in it.
Yeah.
And there was even the Bryant thrower James Williams, I think, showed up to
Yeah. Okay.
the New England meet too to watch. Yeah, so a bunch of the college kids came out to support too. Because like I said, it's like a brotherhood up there. Like we all support each other, we all love each other.
Yeah, which is interesting to see because I mean I know in a lot of sports, especially one like that, maybe in other sports like golf or like which you had said you had kind of interest in. When you're competing against other individuals and it's kind of like that, even on other teams, it can get kind of cutthroat. But when it's usually when it's an individual kind of aspect, it's like, hey, I'm here to bury you. And like, that's usually how it is. But
like, that's what I love about throwing is like, it's not like that.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's friends with everybody. And like all the top throwers, it's like, we all want everybody to have a good day because like, then it's not going to be fun.
Yeah.
If nobody has a good day, then it's like, this kind of sucked.
Exactly.
It's not a fun meet.
Yeah.
So at the New England meet, there was like 100 people by the throwing circle. So like you remember seeing like the crowd at Aiden.
Yeah.
It was like that doubled watching throwing, and they had stands and everything to watch it. And I was in the first flight, and my first throw, I threw 48 feet. It wasn't the best throw, but it was like a mark to get out there.
Yeah, it sets the
to
tone.
feel good. And like, if there was a day to feel technically perfect, it was that day.
Really?
And I felt amazing that day. Like my warm-ups felt great. My first throw, it was flat, but it felt good. And then my second throw, Uh oh, I s- I threw 51 7 3/4 again, but it felt like I threw further than that.
Mhm.
And like you can ask Coach Brian, he was like, when I saw that ball leave your hand, I was like, that's going 55 feet. That
Mhm.
looked like it was going 55 feet, and then the wind just like it seemed like wind just
The
knocked it down out of the air.
Yeah.
And like when that ball hit the ground, all the slingshot people, Joe, all of them screaming, "Let's go!" It just like hyped me up, and I was like, "That's amazing! I want that again." And,
Yeah.
like that
It
was my favorite moment in track and field.
Yeah, I mean, I could completely understand that. And something you actually brought up that kind of resonates with me was like the idea of being technically sound and feeling good about what you do. I know when I did it, obviously, I didn't take it as seriously and was kind of more just like because I was a sprinter, I ran the 50-meter dash or the 50-yard dash, which in total is going to last about 5-6 seconds. And then I ran the 4x2, which, for my leg of it, it's going to last about maybe 20-25 seconds. It's not going to
Mhm.
be that long of a race. So I was always like, I want to have something else I can really, dedicate myself and do. And the shot put became that kind of for me. And I know with me personally, like, I mean, I didn't have like you when you're with your form, you kind of had a spin kind of throw, which
Mhm.
a lot of the more top throwers usually kind of go with. Me personally, because I wasn't able to like really master that, and you kind of had like special shoes for it.
Yeah.
I wasn't really able to do that, so I kind of just did like this leg kick thing where I mean I don't
Yeah,
want to
he
be
did
giving you a
the
physical
for
description of
any
it, but I'd get down like this and I would just jump back and I
yeah.
would throw it like that. And, it worked for what I was going for.
Yeah, for
And
you shot putters out there, was glad that he was throwing.
yeah, so I was
Yeah.
doing just a typical glide. And I remember I remember I was like in a practice one day and one of the athletes on the team, like just like they weren't really taking it as seriously. And I remember just someone comes up to me and like as I'm getting ready to throw and they just go, Hey Brian. I was like, what? And like I kind of just like, just got messed up out of my form. And for
Yeah.
like a meet or two after that, it took me like a significant amount of time to like
Yeah, I
gain that
remember
technical
that.
form back. It was like so annoying
It's
because like when you're in it and everything feels good, like there's nothing to think about. But like the littlest thing when it messes you up, it
it
makes
messes you up
it
big.
and like you have to like completely like rethink your mindset and everything like that to get it back.
Yeah, and that's part of what I had to go through, like,
Yeah, because like would that
when I
be like
decided to make the switch, it was
yeah
I had to change my whole mentality on life and everything, and it was like I had to make so many sacrifices. Like,
yeah
oh, I want to go hang out with friends, but I can't.
I
Oh,
got
I
to
want to
work on
stay
my
up.
form.
I want to stay up late and play video games, but I can't. I gotta do shit the next day. I gotta work out and everything. And we worked at the same gym for a while, and you saw me there almost every day.
Yeah, you were grinding.
I was grinding. I wasn't getting much stronger, but I was grinding, and
Yeah, no, because I mean, obviously you became a D1 athlete, and I feel like the grind to do that, like it takes a very serious commitment in order to do that. What were some of the things that you were trying to do, in an effort to try to, improve yourself, and like what were some of the things that you were doing maybe in the gym?
um,
Was it just like form? Was it like strength? Like where were you trying to center a lot of things?
uh, at the start it was centering on making sure I had good form. Um, at least at the gym we were at, I was
Yeah.
focused a lot on getting stronger
Hmm.
and faster. I needed to like the bread and butter is what I call it, is like the three main things you need to do to get stronger
Hmm.
are benching, squatting, deadlifting.
Yeah.
And um I did a lot of that. Hang cleans.
Hmm.
That's a phenomenal lift. Hang cleaning and snatching is just cleans and snatch in general for any type of explosive thing
Hmm.
you're doing is amazing. So like it's considered one of the top lifts for throwing, in my opinion. At least I love cleaning, and I've recently started snatching, and I've been loving that.
Yeah.
And
And I think the main reason we kind of focused on like strength and a lot of stuff at that gym was because our gym was like they had like some of the exercises that you'd see at like an American Ninja Warrior course.
yeah,
And it was
yeah.
like very centered like that. And I think that kind of helps you with some stuff because like obviously like you do want to be able to like do those standard things. But I think like having that kind of flexibility and stuff in there, especially with someone like you trying to like, get into your form more, that I feel like that helps out a lot.
Yeah, so definitely helped a lot. I mean, as you know, at Rap, they had those special bars for
Yeah.
hang cleaning with the
Hmm.
rotating hands, and I used those a lot just so because it forced your arms out,
Yeah.
and that would just like I would just load that up, and that's how I would do it. And then when I switched to my new gym, like they focused heavily on me learning how to squat, learning how to bench, learning everything.
Yeah.
And like once I started doing like once I got that stuff down, like the weights really started coming and I really started getting stronger. And that's when I finally broke 50 feet.
Yeah. I mean that's obviously showing the training kind of matching up there and really kind of shows the dedication there.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Obviously, in the process of doing this, there was probably a lot of actually I'll ask you this first before I get to that question. I will ask you this because you did mention your favorite kind of track moment. Did you ever I know this for me personally. I had some weird track moments, where something would happen out there and it would just it would just not make a lot of sense. I know for me personally, I had one where we were in the shot put circle. I don't think you were throwing at the time. I think it was someone from Nipmuc, and they got up on the top of the thing to just try to like warm it up, and they like grabbed it with two hands and just tried to throw it behind them. And because it was so cold, the shot put just exploded on the
I
ground.
remember that. Yeah.
But I know for me personally, I had this time back. I forget how. I think I had to have at least been a junior because Mike Gilroy and a bunch of those guys were still on the team, and they were still doing
So
some.
you were probably a freshman.
Well, no, if they were running, then they might have been
Mike
seniors.
Gilroy was not on the team my freshman year.
Okay, then I forget how old I must have been, but it was a bunch of just throwers at the time. They kind of were just out there to just do some stuff.
Right.
And I remember I just show up and I'm like running the 50 against these guys, and it's a bunch of throwers, and I'm just like, oh, perfect. Like I know I'm gonna get like first in this heat,
Smoked you.
so I feel great about this. And I get down there, and obviously in a 50-meter dash or a 50-yard dash, it's like runners to your marks. You get in the blocks set, and then you hear the gun to go.
Yeah.
And I remember, like I get down, I'm ready to go, and like I'm up against like a bunch of throwers, so I'm like, all right, gonna cruise to victory on this one. Like I feel great, and like my times, like at the time, I think I had ran like a 6:4:50, but I was like starting to like get down there in time, and like I was really starting to improve my stuff. Like I think I ended up like my PR was like a 6 flat or something like that. Like it
Yeah.
was for like the 50-yard dash.
Yeah.
And I remember I get into my stance, and I hear the guy go, runners to your marks, set, and then I hear a whistle blow, and I'm like, what?
Oh.
And I look up, and all the guys just take off, and I'm like, what? So then out of just like just out of a like last second response, I take off. I somehow get second, but I ended up running a 7.2, and I was like, ew. But but I was like so startled because I didn't hear the gun go off, and I heard this
Yeah.
whistle, and they didn't announce it like, hey guys, we're gonna be doing a whistle now, but they just blew a whistle. And it was like one of the weirdest moments. I don't know if you had any weird moments like that, but I, just like, just oddities or just different things like that going on in the track. Was there ever something that happened to you where you just go, that was weird? It could have been like a coach doing something weird or just something like that too. It could have even been at a practice as well.
Probably like when I first moved back my mark
Yeah.
in practice. So you know how we like set up in the middle of that gym?
Yeah.
And then the first time I moved 10 feet back, that was like it felt weird.
Yeah, no,
That was
because
the weirdest
yeah,
thing.
because I remember when we set up for shot put in the gym. Obviously, for people who aren't knowing this, we had like a high school gym and a middle school gym where we would like practice the throwing, and we would set up like a bunch of like padding and stuff to make sure like we didn't dent the floorboards because like that's what these heavy shot puts are gonna do, and like everyone else is like throwing from these normal spots, but just because you're throwing like just because you're absolutely bombing these balls, like they had to say, okay, Curtis, you're gonna just have to throw from the other free throw line to like
Yeah.
because you're just because if not, you're just gonna put a dent in the walls.
Yeah, my senior year, Gillen got many complaints because I was throwing from that free throw line, the 10 feet back line, and
Well, I think you were throwing from like half court.
yeah, I threw 10 feet back at my senior year, and I was hitting the wall again.
Jesus.
And I remember one day I had a throw that was like I really connected on it, everything, and it hit like halfway up on the wall. So like to give you some perspective, that would have been like a 43, 44, no, 53, 55.
Yeah, I mean, if you're throwing from there, and you're hitting up that high on obviously on this like gym wall that obviously you guys can't like you guys would just have to imagine it. That's a damn good throw.
And I remember just all the marks being on the wall, and the janitors ended up complaining to Gillen because I split the padding
Oh
on the wall. So I had to move back another 5 feet.
That's bad.
I remember one practice. I was doing lightweight training, so I threw the
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 women's shot.
9 pound shot.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
and I hit the wall from like the back of the gym.
Oh my god.
We had to put the second basketball hoop up because of me. Yeah,
You're probably
so
gonna break the glass.
yeah. I remember one day I was just doing stand throws and they hadn't like put the hoop up yet. Gillen was still going to get the key, so I was just doing stand throws, and I almost hit the board.
Oh Jesus. That's
So
so bad.
and I remember a few people were like,
Hey
"Oh
guys,
my god,
nothing
I want to hit
nothing
the
but net.
wall." Yeah, pretty much. I remember we had a bunch of sophomores and freshmen come
Yeah.
on, and eighth graders that started throwing with me, and I was just helping them, and they were all like, "Oh my god, I want to hit the wall," and they're like, "Could you hit the wall from like the half court line
I was
with the
like,
stand throw?" I was like,
yeah.
"Probably." They're like, "Let's see you do it." I don't believe you, and I did it. And they're like, "What the hell?" I was like, "What were you expecting?"
Yeah, no, it's like I've been training at this. Like I'm gonna be able to
I've
do
been
this.
a few of them were like, "Oh my god, how did you learn to do this?" I was like,
Yeah.
it's just like it's more so like I owe my life up to Brian for that.
Hmm.
But like it Brian basically handed me the tools, and it was up to me to figure out what to do with the tools.
Hmm.
So I did a lot of practicing and perfecting the technique because like I knew I didn't have the strength
Yeah.
of a lot of those throwers.
Hmm.
So I I remember there's a thrower at one of the meets. He's like, "So how much do you bench?" And I was like, "My max right now is at 205." And the guy's like, "What? How are
Yeah.
you throwing this far benching 205? I'm benching 315
It's
and
all
I
about
still can't
form.
do it." And I'm like, it's like you can't. It's like you gotta be strong, yes, but it's like
You have to be
if
strong
you
in that
don't have
area.
technique, then you're probably not gonna throw as far as you could.
Hmm.
And like you see that with a lot of big throwers out there today, and it's like a lot of them. I know a few kids that can just muscle it out there at
Hmm.
50 feet,
Yeah.
and I know kids that like myself that were able to throw 50 feet with almost no muscle.
Hmm.
And my coach now, he jokes about me being small, and I don't disagree because I'm very small for a thrower.
Hmm.
And he constantly makes this analogy to me like you can't fire a cannon out of canoe. And it just sticks with me. I'm like, "Ah, I'm trying, I'm trying to get stronger. It's just a process. It takes a while to gain that strength. And like once you start getting on like a level where you start gaining strength, it starts getting a lot faster and you
Hmm.
start putting it on faster. But
Yeah.
it's still firing a cannon out of a canoe
Yeah.
analogy for me right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually a pretty funny analogy there. I'll
Yeah.
give him that one.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you mentioned your size and kind of being undersized for a thrower. Is there any other possible, maybe, obstacles you've had to overcome, maybe adversity from other coaches and things like that, maybe kind of influenced you and really got you to the level to where you're at?
So I've had a lot. Um, I have a great deal of mental health issues, as you know from
Yeah,
being my friend, being there for me. Thank you for that.
absolutely.
Um, that I've dealt a lot with depression and everything, so I've had to overcome that, and that's obviously very difficult. I mean, I
Es-
still from time to time will have a depressive episode where I just feel like not doing anything,
Yeah, and I
and
mean, it's I have no idea what that's like personally, but
yeah.
I can only imagine. I've had many disappointing at like outings as an athlete, and I feel like I don't know how that would affect someone, but I feel like that's not going to be the
Mhm.
greatest impact on someone when stuff isn't going the greatest. So
Yeah, and like senior year around like Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving time, like a whole thing happened
yeah.
in my life that really just threw me through a loop and I hit a low and it was not fun. And like for anybody that has depression, I recommend just finding that outlet,
Hmm.
finding something that takes
Yeah.
your mind off of whatever it is. And for me that was throwing.
Yeah.
But like I've had a lot of people, and when I say a lot, I mean like I've had teachers, friends,
Yeah.
loads of people. I've even had some family that are like, I don't think you can do this. I don't think you have like
Really?
even my dad and I joke about this to this day. Like when I told him that I wanted to stop focusing on golf and focusing more on shot put, he was like, "No, no, that's not gonna happen. You're not gonna be a Division 1 athlete for
Shot put.
shot put." But he didn't doubt me. He just didn't believe I had it in me at that point.
Yeah.
And
And I mean, I mean, frankly, I will say this: you developed quite the drive after, later on throughout your high school career. Which, if you had told me like, early on that like, hey, like if you told me like freshman year Curtis was going to be like, and it's gonna be like, I'm gonna throw shot, but I'm gonna be like, come on, Curtis, like with what drive? But I will say,
yeah,
you
exactly.
create the drive you made for yourself, like going forward, was immense. Like you got so much passion for what you did, and you really carried it on, and like you really kind of like got that fire in you, which
Mhm.
like I can still see to this day.
Yeah. One of the most satisfying things I've ever done is when I signed my commitment letter. It was
Mm,
like I just proved so many people wrong.
yeah.
And I even had a few teachers at Sutton that were like, "There's no way you're even gonna go to college. Like your GPA,
Really.
no. As you know, I didn't do homework. Like my GPA,
To be
I
fair,
am very open about this.
to
My
be fair, there were
GPA,
days where I didn't either. I was very known for prioritizing what I had to do. On some days, I was like, well, I have a quiz in this class, but I have homework in this class. How much is this homework worth? I was like, I think I'm just gonna decide to go with
oh, I didn't even study.
yeah, no,
I skated by, to say the least. I had a 2 point. I had a going into my senior year. I had a 2.1 GPA.
wow.
Yeah. So like when I said I had to change my whole mentality, I meant school too. Like,
Yeah.
um, the Hartford coach was like, um, I need you to get your grades up.
Mm,
So I ended the year with a 3.3
wow.
for senior year.
That
So
is
I was like,
crazy.
that boosted my GPA up by 0.2 points. So I was like,
I mean, but
let's go.
I mean that just
I'm
I mean
eligible for the NCAA now.
honestly, I mean, do you know about like the whole Ben Simmons thing? I doubt you know. Like, so Ben Simmons, he's obviously now a player in the NBA. He plays for the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah.
When he went to college, he literally, like, I think the minimum for like where he was like a 1.19 GPA, and this man literally did the absolute minimum to keep it. Like, obviously you didn't. You actually like really like stepped on the gas your
Yeah.
senior year. But this man in college, he did the absolute minimum amount of work just to be able to stay on the basketball team. And as soon as the basketball season ended, this man just did not go to class because he knew he was going to get drafted. And
That's funny
he,
as
he he
hell.
he literally just goes, "All right, I'm done with school. Bet I'm
Yeah.
I'm just going to go to the gym every day."
Yeah. And I unfortunately could not do that.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I don't think. Here's the thing: not a lot of
fortunately,
athletes have that luxury, unfortunately.
fortunately though, I did have COVID. Like one thing I'm going to say that I liked COVID for was the fact that it basically canceled the entire senior year of classes. So I didn't have to do anything for months of classes. I'd have to show up, maybe do an assignment
Yeah,
or watch a video. I think Mr. Lev was the only one that I really did work for. And he was just like, hey, if you could film a video of yourself and send it to me of like how you're going through this COVID situation. And I was like, I can do that. That's easy.
easy.
Easy. Done. Bang, boom. And they didn't count our grades for the last semester,
No, I,
as you
I I
know.
remember how that went. I mean, I know for me personally, like our school, like I feel like part of it got harder. Like I feel like the college stuff got harder, and I
Well,
remember
yeah,
and
because
I remember
like
and I remember asking my brother. I was like, how's school going? And he just goes, how's it going? It's not even happening.
exactly. I
I was
think I
like, what?
met
And he just goes, we're basically on summer break. Like
yeah,
we have to
like
do like the least right now.
I had, as you know, I had the normal 7 classes.
Yeah.
Only 2 of them would actually meet, or 3 of them, but it was the same teacher for both of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
For 2 of them, and then it would be like we'd meet once a week, maybe twice. Um, Other than that, I remember one of them we just turned up playing video games together. So I ended up playing Minecraft with one of my high school teachers. I can
That's
say that
great.
proudly.
That is great.
I convinced him to buy Minecraft and play with me during physics class.
Who was this? Was this Mr. Stone?
Mr. Billica.
Oh, I was going to say if Mr.
He
Stone
was
was doing
new.
this, that was going to be hilarious.
I wish. I didn't have Mr. Stone for physics though,
Oh,
unfortunately.
I'm about to say that would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
But it seems that for a good bit of time you handled COVID pretty well.
I was living life. I was like, at the time I was burnt out
Yeah.
from school shot put because I'd just gone 3 weeks in a row of just heavy competition of just me putting everything into it and I would put everything into it, but like there was something else at these meets. Like the energy at these meets were so much different that like you had put even more energy in.
Yeah.
And you would just be like, you would go home like these meets in the morning, like as you know, like the state and district meets, they were always in the morning.
Yeah.
And you'd get there and you'd leave by like 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and shot would be done around 1,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd throw at like 12.
Yeah.
And I'd get home and I'd just sleep. I'd get food and then sleep.
That's
for
crazy.
hours. I didn't want to do anything other than that because I would just be drained.
Yeah.
And I was just so burnt out after New England's, but I was like still on that energy kick from what happened there. And I was like, yo, I got into nationals. I'm going to nationals. And then like 2 days before the meet, they canceled it. But it was like going to be the perfect weekend. My dad and he was coming down with me. And we booked a hotel room because my sister had games on Long Island that weekend as well. So we were
Mhm.
gonna go to the meet on Friday, and then she had games Saturday and Sunday, so we were gonna go to those. And it was
Yeah.
gonna be a good weekend. We were gonna explore New York and
Oh yeah.
everything.
Would have been great.
So yeah, I was so hyped. I was stoked for the trip, and like I was gonna get to wear the new slingshot jerseys, which were fresh as hell.
Really?
They were so clean.
That's sick.
And
COVID then just said
COVID
said let's consider that.
well, it was at the point where like at first we were like, COVID's not that big deal. There's only a few cases.
It's gonna be like
up.
the swine flu at worst. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
and then it was like, no, we're actually
then it really started getting bad. And then I remember showing up to school on that Thursday. I was gonna leave the very next day right after school to go to New York.
Mhm.
And I was gonna skip all my classes on Friday. I was so hyped about that. And they're just like meets canceled, sorry. And I was like,
what?
And I just did not want to go to school. I was like, are you effing serious?
Yeah.
I just don't want. I remember walking into school the next day, and the only person that really had heard about it were track kids.
Yeah.
And Jen specifically, and she came up to me because we would always pass each other in the library in the morning, and she just looks at me and goes, why are you even here? I'm so sorry. Like, you worked your ass off this season just for that, and you don't get that opportunity. And I know how it feels to have that stripped from you because that happened to her. And it was like I was crushed.
Oh yeah.
And you just see me walking around throughout the day, my head's down. I was
sullen.
So upset. I was like, because like this is the biggest meet of the year.
Oh yeah.
And like a 3-day weekend in New York sounds hella fun.
Not bad at all.
Like I was gonna go to Times Square. I was gonna get like I've never been to New York City.
Really?
So I was like, yo, this is sick. I get to go to the city. I mean, I don't really like cities, but
it's New York.
It's New York City. It might as well make the best of it.
Exactly.
Like yeah, it just got canceled.
And then COVID became what it became.
Then next week they're like 14 days to slow the spread, and
now we're here.
Now we're here, everyone.
In my basement.
Yeah, in Brian's basement.
Recording this on a Zoom call. That became mainstream real quick.
Yeah, and that was not fun.
No, not fun at all. Now I know for me personally, it just spiraled out of control so quick. And I've talked to many athletes about, the commitment that, life has been like during COVID. A lot of the athletes I've spoken to had kind of an athletic kind of experience before COVID. You came into college as a freshman with COVID, just, running rampant, and it was insane. Now, like, kind of tell me what was kind of the restrictions and how was it trying to navigate through all that, as an athlete?
So
Because I
for
mean, because
at
I mean,
least at my school.
because I mean, I know before you had mentioned like it was really tough to get out of that groove when you found out stuff was getting canceled. How did you manage to bounce back first of all, and then once you did, like, what was that commitment like? As during COVID as a D1 athlete.
So for me, it started. I signed in April,
Yeah,
and like originally I was like 2 weeks to slow the spread. Honestly, I'll take it.
2 week break.
I need a break.
Hmm.
Like after nationals, I was already gonna take that week off, and
Yeah,
like because like to give you some idea, it was a leap year, so
yeah,
New England's was on February 29th,
yeah.
and then nationals was like the following weekend.
Hmm.
So and then the Monday after New England's uh was the first day of track practice for the outdoor season. So it's like,
Let's take a little break
well,
here.
I'm taking a week break
At,
minimum.
yeah, no,
And
I respect that.
like Gillen was saying the same thing. You take a week break. Coach Brian was saying the same thing. And I was like, yeah, I was planning on it. My dad was like, you should probably take a break. Because I remember saying like, oh my God, I hate this right now. I just want to be done. I want to have, because like in indoor, at least in Massachusetts, shot put's the only throwing event.
Yeah.
Like if you go to Rhode Island, they have the weight throw,
Hmm.
which is very similar to the hammer throw.
Yeah.
It's just a lot closer to your body and it's a heavier implement.
Mhm.
And but only having shot and thrown that every meet every single day with no change.
Yeah, it's got to be like killer.
It really is. And
And I know
like
for outdoors, well, you had disc, which made it kind of a bit more
yeah,
interesting, and you had
and
different things you
having
could do.
disc would allow me to like, oh, I'm not really feeling shot today. I'll throw disc.
Mhm.
And I remember like the week that I was preparing for nationals, I picked up a shot maybe twice.
Really?
Yeah, like I was tapering,
Hmm.
but like I was also like, I need to like train different muscles right now just to like get my head in the right place because so I was throwing some discs because it was getting warm.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is sweet. I'm gonna throw some discs. And I remember one of the practices, Gillen and I were outside throwing discs because him and I were the only ones at practice. And
Yeah.
uh he was like, he saw my first full throw with a discus and he was like, oh, it's gonna be a good outdoor. Like first meet, the outdoor record for our outdoor record was gonna be in the bag
Yeah.
easily. Disc record was in the bag easily. I was like the disc record at Sutton is 144.
Hmm.
I was easily throwing 160.
Really?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. So
And
that was
and
like,
and then you couldn't get it because of COVID.
yeah, I can't even. You go there, my name's not even gonna be on that board for disc, and
That's
I'm very
stupid.
upset about that. I
That's
didn't even get
stupid.
a chance.
Well, you know that you're the furthest disc thrower until someone can probably throw further than that.
Yeah, and honestly, in Sutton's a running town,
Exactly.
so I don't know if they're ever gonna get another thrower. I would love to see them get another thrower because, like, I want to see that school's record go up and up.
Yeah. But we're a running town.
Yeah,
we're a
but
running town.
running
We're a
town.
running town. We're a soccer town,
Uh,
and they go hand in hand.
Yeah, like it's going to. I
No,
don't.
yeah, because I mean, I think that like I feel like it's probably been broken now, but like the big things people talk about at Sutton is soccer and basketball gets thrown in there too because of all the Clark Tournament championships,
And
and
the state championship, 2020.
yeah, we won and plus we won the state championship in 2020. Congrats to those guys. So I mean, they've had immense success throughout their throughout their
Yeah,
time here, and basketball has really started to kind of catch on. Obviously, it's had a long tenured history throughout here, but it's always been soccer and basketball. But something people didn't realize about like Sutton, about how impressive they are, is their track team. Because not even, I mean, the boys team itself is impressive, but the girls team, I remember at one point they hadn't lost a meet. At least when I was still participating, they hadn't lost a meet, like a regular season meet, since 2001. It was
I
incredible.
thought they hadn't even lost a meet since the program started.
They were undefeated before the DVC like division was even created.
Yeah,
They lost
and
to Oakmont, and we don't even play Oakmont anymore.
yeah. So up till my senior year, they were undefeated in the
Did
DVC.
it finally go?
Yeah, they they were just barely sneaking by with wins, and then
it caught him.
they got them.
Ugh.
I think Nipmuc got us.
Well, I mean, it's frankly, it's one of the most improbable kind of winning streaks that you'll ever see, and I don't think it'll be talked about nearly as much as it should be, because I mean, to win that much, and like if you have an undefeated season, like that's very well celebrated, and like it was tough enough for the boys to get one every year. Like we like sometimes Nipmuc and some other guys, they would challenge us like for certain meets, but the girls absolutely for years on
They
end,
would just roll.
it was incredible.
They were just insane.
Like they were unstoppable. Obviously, like once you get to playoffs, it's a different story. But regular season, we ran it. It was incredible to
yeah,
see.
and it was like, yeah, and unfortunately, like the amount of runners in the town is just dying out. I think the cross country team my senior year had 3 people.
Really,
They were able to convince one person to join the team so they could actually have a team.
that is so sad.
Yeah, and obviously you can tell like they didn't win a single meet for the girls.
That's so tough.
So yeah, like we just did not have that capability my senior year. We just lost people because, like, as you know, a lot of people go to Blackstone Valley.
Yeah, they either go to
and
Blackstone Valley Tech, and the other thing you see too is a lot of athletes. While I saw track is kind of an ability to like train for other sports, I feel like other athletes kind of said like, I'm just going to train for that sport on my own then.
Well, yeah, that and we don't really try to convince people.
Yeah,
Like, there's nobody like, oh my god, you need to join track. It's like we don't have that anymore.
yeah.
Because like people just see it as a social club. At least the younger kids, they show up and it's like a social club for them. And
Which always like was
which
a
is
fun
like,
aspect of it, but you also wanted to get better, and there
well,
always was
yeah,
kind of that thing
and
too.
like that's not really the case now. It's
Yeah.
like it's nobody really sees track at something that, in my opinion, at least, not a lot of people see track as like a sport you want to get better at. It's just like you
It's
go
just
to
there.
have something to do.
Yeah,
And
which is unfortunate.
yeah, and like I don't want to knock any of the athletes there down. Like
Because I mean, there are still
there's
athletes,
still some very good athletes
and
there.
they're still trying their damn
And
hardest.
there's still some there's still a lot of potential on the team. At least on the girls team, there was a lot of potential. I remember there was an 8th grader and I thought she was a freshman and she was throwing further than some of the freshmen, some of the sophomores. And
That's
I was like,
incredible.
and she was running, she was a fast runner. I was like, if you stick to shot put, you're gonna be like,
Really good.
you're gonna throw deep. Like,
Mhm.
I think she threw almost 30 feet as an 8th grader.
That's crazy.
And I was like, I want to train you. I
Wow.
want you to go up to my coach and I want you to like, you're gonna be good.
Mm-hmm.
But well,
Yeah, but that kind of concludes what we had to talk about your personal journey as an athlete. Now, another big reason I did want to get you on the show today was because obviously you did commit to you can see it on your hat, if you can see it on the program, you committed to the University of Hartford. You're a Hawk down there, and
yeah,
you're a freshman there this year. And this is actually something I've seen throughout the news, and has actually been very surprising because up in New England, man, there aren't too many schools that make a ton of noise. I mean, UMass, frankly, I'll give them credit. They just won the national championship in hockey, so all hats off to them for that. Congrats,
absolutely,
you guys.
yeah.
Congrats to the Minutemen there.
Congrats, yeah.
But with a lot of other sports, it's unfortunate because not even in basketball, like there aren't even really that many runs. I know the Bryant basketball team, we were a game away from making it to the tournament. Well, you guys actually managed to make it in.
Yeah, Hartford, we won our conference game. We probably would have won it last year if it weren't for COVID. It
Yeah.
got canceled before the game, so they were probably going to go to March Madness last year, and they went this year.
Mhm.
They ended up losing first game to Baylor, which ended up winning, as you know.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're losing to the champs, all hats off to you.
Yeah, I mean, we kept it. I watched the game and we kept it up till halftime, and then halftime Baylor just started. They just took us away, and we lost 72, I think, to 55, something like that.
But here's the thing: when you have a program like that, like Baylor, there's just so much depth. Like you can have I know at Bryant, like we had a really solid like starting kind of guys, but when you look at the depth of a team like Baylor, they can go like 10 deep and they can like really make something work.
Yeah.
Whereas like if like your main guys on a program like ours or yours, they go down, it's like, hey, this might be a long season.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. But Unfortunately, Mount St. Mary's screwed our season. You guys managed to get into the tournament, but with you guys getting the tournament, there was actually a lot of publicity surrounding the school because when the little schools make it in, or like the littler schools out of the
Yeah.
D1 make it in, it's always like, let's go. Like when
It was really hype. Like
oh yeah, like
Hartford, the town of Hartford, like
I
because the
remember,
school's in West Hartford,
yeah,
like the big areas for like the college areas, that like all the bars and everything.
oh
Like,
yeah,
they had like red banners up, Hartford banners. You go into the city, it was basically painted red for Hartford,
that's awesome.
and yeah, and then the Hartford's governor declared I forget which day it was, but Hartford Men's Basketball Day
Really,
as a holiday. Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah. So it was like sick, but
Obviously, no. So I mean, here's the thing: like, schools like that, from these types of areas, I mean, I think of a UMBC also when they went on, they beat #1 Virginia, and like the UMBC, they were the talk of the town, and you were getting a little bit of that with Hartford because they're facing the #1 seed, and that takes a lot of effort. And I remember I'm watching one night, and I'm actually watching Scott Van Pelt because I watch a lot of ESPN, and Scott Van Pelt, for anyone who doesn't know, is a very very touted, highly you know very not very popular ESPN analyst. He has a kind of like a midnight show that he does where he kind of like breaks down like the national sports. Like he'll be like, Steph Curry just dropped 50 tonight, and it'll obviously the main stuff like that. But then he also likes to do kind of like little deep dives on like small subjects as well.
yeah,
And something that I saw one night, and it kind of struck me because I'm like, hey, Curtis goes there. I see on one night that apparently apparently the president of the University of Hartford came out, and he had said that the school was losing a bunch of money, and there was some stuff going on there, and they would consider going D3. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And like I was very confused by all this because I'm like, they just had success in the tournament, and there was a bunch of stuff going on there. Now I don't need to I don't want to like be forcing you into like giving your opinion on it, but like just as a student on campus, what exactly has gotten some of the students up in arms? Like maybe not yourself in particular, but what has kind of been like this big rallying cause exactly? Like from a student's perspective, like
yeah.
what would your explanation necessarily
So
be?
there's been a lot of protests. I think the first one, all the athletes, we came together and did a march around campus, and we stopped and chanted outside the president's office. But um, what we see is like the president of the school, like when he signed on 3 years ago that he was going to be the president, and he said that I'm going to go to all the theater, like anything that
Yeah,
the
no,
school
I'm
puts on, like games. If our sports team's got a game, I'm going to the game. Theater productions, speeches, podcasts, anything. I'm gonna tune in or watch it,
mhm,
something. And there was like a barbecue, and like his first year there, and
mhm,
only a few of the baseball kids, only a few of the athletes at the school actually got to meet him.
yeah,
And ever since then, nobody really knew what he looked like. Nobody really knew who he was, and
yeah.
he's never really shown his face on campus. So that really digs into a lot of the athletes. And
Kind of causes the issue that we're seeing now.
yeah, he said something like the school's losing $13 million to
Yeah,
athletics a year, and we were all like, "That's BS. How is that
and
possible?"
and it's
And
like that's terrible, but yeah,
some outsider did like some research into it and found out that we were only losing like $6 million a year
yeah.
to athletics.
Which I mean, frankly, isn't great, but
Yeah,
that's like double the numbers, like
yeah,
which does
well,
add up.
a recent fact that came out was that because we don't offer too many athletic scholarships. It's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you got to be one of the best people at the school to get one of those.
Oh yeah.
And we found out that all merit scholarships that athletes have come
Hmm.
out of athletics.
Really?
Yeah, so say you come into school and on like a full merit scholarship, but
Hmm.
you're not an athlete.
Yeah.
But then you decide, hey, I want to walk on to like say the track team, and they walk on, then athletics has to pay for that merit scholarship.
Yeah.
And that's probably the reason why we're losing $13 million a year, because Hartford, thankfully for me, has been very generous when it comes to merit aid.
Yeah, no, for what it's worth, like, the University of Hartford is a great school, and
Yeah.
they do a lot of stuff for their athletes. I was just seeing a bunch of stuff go down though with the president. Apparently, there's some talk about him basically trying to. I guess there was like an email going out, and this is stuff from what I've heard. This is just from what I've heard across media. This isn't really anything like in particular, but I've been hearing stuff across the media of guys going like, he essentially said like, I there was something about spin doctors rather that's become like kind of a popular quote now.
Yeah.
Is there
There
anything
was
like you could tell
a
me about that?
leaked email a professor leaked accidentally in a Zoom call that
Really?
somebody got a screenshot of, and the email he said just rally support for us dropping to D3 and let me and the spin doctors handle the rest.
Yikes.
So he basically was like spinning the truth on, from what I've seen,
Yeah.
what I feel like personally is that he's like trying to spin the truth.
Well, I mean, that's not even something that you feel. I mean, when you're talking about spin doctors, like that isn't even like an opinion there. Like that's just like
Right.
that's like what someone's actually doing there. And I think that like doing that, I find it to be nefarious. And I know me frankly at my school personally, I had we actually just had a presidential change of our own
Yeah.
just last year too. I mean, the president left during COVID, and it was like. But the guy at the time, his name was Ron Makeley. He was actually a senator in Rhode Island,
Mm-hmm.
and was actually a very beloved guy. And you'd go around all these sporting events like this guy said he was going to do, and like he was always there, like decked out in like all the brand gear,
Right.
and he would like any guy who went up to him, like, or any student, he'd always be like, "What's up, you guys?" Like dapping guys up. Like he'd be there with his wife, like having a great time.
Yeah.
He just retired, and we had this new guy come in. His name's Rocheleau. Uh, don't know a ton about him lately, and it has been like I think like
It's hard this year. I will give them
yeah,
that.
I
It's
think to give a
hard.
lot of guys like that credit, it definitely is harder to find guys on campus like that. And I actually went down to campus recently after they just lifted the mask mandate on campus, and I'm literally just walking through a building. He's right there, and and
Really?
I'm like, okay, like so so I maybe it had to do with COVID that he couldn't be all throughout the campus. So I'll give him that, and hopefully next fall I get to see this guy more. Maybe he wants to come on the show. Ross Cattell, this is I would be happy to talk with you. It definitely is a tough situation, and I it's got to be tough. So I had heard about a bunch of things going on down there. Something I had also kind of been made aware of was I guess there was something going on with the softball team down there where in kind of protest against this
Yeah.
there was something that kind of went on with them.
So the so there was one night when, so before all this, like the first protest with the march and everything, like there was like, it was just like speculation. We didn't know if it
Yeah.
was going to happen or not.
Mm-hmm.
And we had gathered a lot of like
Things to say like, hey,
stuff
let's
behind
not
us.
do this.
A lot of people, like professional athletes, things like that, coming out saying don't do that. And um so we were like, yeah, it's not gonna happen. Like the
Yeah.
board is gonna say no, and it's probably not a good idea. And then we were supposed to get a decision like the weekend, one weekend, and
Yeah,
then it came
exactly.
out that Thursday. It was like the first day of finals. It was supposed to come out that weekend of the first week of finals, and then
Yeah.
it came out Thursday, the first day of finals.
Jesus.
So like everybody's already up. We're all working
And
on our
everyone's
finals.
already pretty stressed out.
We're all stressed out, and then we just receive an email from the president saying, like, basically saying thank you to the senior, like to the student athletes, this is the decision we've reached and we're dropping to D3. And I just remember somebody saying, because I'm in multiple group chats, I'm in a
Yeah.
few student athlete clubs, SAC and the Hidden Opponent, shout out to them. And they basically said, everybody come to the front of the school, Channel 6 News is here.
Really.
There was probably a lot of people were stressed out studying for the final, so we didn't get as many people to go, but there was still a good crowd there.
Yeah.
And a few people talked to the news about it, and then it started grabbing a lot more attention. And there's a petition out right now to get the guy to resign. A lot of
Really.
people, there's an Instagram page that somebody made called Keep Hartford Division 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it there we one of the protests we did after that, there was a flat we for the petition, we bought a flag for every single person that signed the petition.
Wow.
And it was going to be basically to represent how many people think President Woodward should be fired. And there was like 1,600 people.
Jesus.
Yeah. So um that's close to half the school's like population.
That is
So
insane.
it was pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
So it's affecting.
Oh no, you're fine.
So it's affecting everybody, like
Yeah.
not just the student athletes, because a lot of people chose to come to Hartford because there's Division I sports.
Yeah, no, I
It's
mean,
like you want to go to a school where you can watch the Division I sports because like that's cool.
yeah,
You get to watch
exactly.
like
No, yeah.
some of the better people in the NCAA play, and it's
And I mean, you would even told me Hartford's had some, while you're not like fielding guys like Duke, like Hartford has had some pretty solid, has had some pretty solid athletes come out of there. Like I think you mentioned Jeff Bagwell.
yeah, Jeff Bagwell, Vin Baker,
hmm Yeah. So
um,
yeah.
two
So
Hall of Famers there, baseball and basketball, right?
I'm not too sure about Baker. I'd have to check on that, but
Yeah,
obviously Jeff Bagwell is a baseball legend. So you've had at least some athletes been able to really make it and have an
yeah,
impact
and
out of those schools.
we have like 1 to 2 athletes maybe a year that go pro, and like that's pretty good in
Pretty
my
solid
opinion. That's
for
pretty solid for
yeah,
a lower level Division I program,
yeah,
and especially like we don't have a lot of funding that a lot of these big schools do, and we don't have a lot of the facilities. Like I'm sure Bryant, they have a track, right? And they have like some indoor facilities maybe.
they don't have an indoor track, but they do have an outdoor one.
Do they
So
have like indoor facilities though?
yeah, they have like some indoor. We have like an indoor turf field that just got put in. We have some new stuff
Yeah.
that just came in.
Yeah, like Hartford doesn't have that. We don't have an outdoor track.
Mhm.
And the soccer and lax team, they share a field.
Mm,
Um, and basically we don't have any indoor facilities other than like a volleyball court and a basketball court.
yeah,
So like we have our varsity gym that we obviously like all varsity athletes, they get to go in there. Like we have the trainers and everything, which is amazing to have. I love the trainers and I love the weight room
yeah,
there. But it's probably not the weight room is definitely not as big as a lot of these programs. Like I
mhm.
know if you go to like a school like UMaine, they have custom plates,
Wow.
whereas Hartford has the standard meathead metal plates that you see
I
around.
love to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I love the metal plates. It makes me feel like I'm lifting heavier because they're metal. So,
I can understand that.
yeah, I like the metal plates personally. I like them more than the custom plates, but the custom plates are still pretty clean. They're pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
Um, and it's like a lot of these programs, like I said, they have like these indoor facilities so they can train and get better, and they have bigger facilities that they can train and get better in. And we are doing the best we can
Yeah.
with what we have, and
Mhm.
it's showing because like our baseball team is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Um, softball did well this season. We Seton Hall in the past used to be a really good school, and we swept them this season, their
Wow.
first games. So we were very happy about that.
I love the offhand comment. They used to be a good school, but then they faced
Yeah, it
us.
used to
But then they
be.
faced us, and
They
it
faced us, and they've started to die
yeah,
down,
yeah,
at least in softball.
yeah. And I
Um,
and I think it was good that you mentioned softball because I mean, there's been tremendous success around, but I know there was a kind of an incident kind of in protest of this whole decision that the softball team did go forward with
yeah. So the what they did was like they were the first team to have games
after
after
the
the
decision.
decision. So
Wow,
they blacked out their uniforms.
really?
So they put tape over Hartford and they just played. And my
Wow.
sister's on the team or was
Okay.
on the team. She's a senior that just graduated. Shout out
Mhm.
to her. Huge inspiration to me. And I remember like she had one home run left to break the career home run record, and she did it in the very first game
There you
with the
go.
protests. And then like Fox 61 did I think it was Fox 61 that did like a
A little
news
story on it.
story on
Yeah.
them, and it was just like nice to see. And then like um a bunch of the teams came out because like at the time like they just made a new rule like if you were in athletics you're able to go to sporting
Yeah.
events, or if you're a student on campus you can go to student events, I think, like that. But like for spectators you're allowed to have two. So basically they allowed everybody in,
Oh,
even like
geez.
as many like spectators. And they had a decent amount. I think the whole baseball team came out during the first and some of the second game. A lot of the lax team came out. There were some track people, including myself, volleyball. I said lax, but both
Yeah, men's
women's
and
and
women's. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So that was nice to see. Um,
But yeah, I mean it. I love to see the passion going on there. I do wish you guys the best with that whole situation going on.
Yeah.
I know there's obviously been a lot of confusion with the whole situation right now. And
Yeah.
I know I know it's probably just a lot to probably like comprehend at this point in time. Just like it's it's not going to be a situation that's going to be like, oh, we're going D3, let's go. Like no, like
Yeah,
obviously it's tough. Like
it's a big decision and it takes time too. So Hartford's still gonna be Division One till 2025.
okay, yeah.
2025 is when they make the
The,
official drop, but it's like I think the timeline's like I haven't really been paying too much attention, but
yeah.
the timeline is like in 2022 it's when we stop like conference games, so like we'll still be in the American East Conference, but we're not really going to be like competing in conference.
Yeah.
um and then like
It
2023 they start looking for a conference. 2022 they have to like go through a process where they have to basically ask the NCAA for permission, like, hey, can we do this? So they have to do that still.
yeah. No, so I mean, it's definitely a process. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on there, and there's definitely a lot of unknowns with it going forward. So I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, whatever happens in the future is going to be a lot of stuff going down. If there are any major developments, I'll make sure to get you back on to maybe discuss some of those. But it's a very difficult decision, and I mean, you know, I me personally, I like the fact that the athletes aren't going to be taking this sort of a thing quietly. This is their school too. They pay to go there, and
Yeah.
I think it is important that they say like, hey, like we matter in this situation. We deserve better here, and no matter how you feel about it, my heart goes out to those athletes. I feel for them, and I wish them the best. And
Yeah.
I think no matter whatever happens with you guys, I think you guys are gonna figure it out. Everything does, unfortunately, good or bad, everything can happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think, whatever decision, whatever happens after this, I think that'll be for the best.
Yeah. So hopefully it'll turn out for the best for all the athletes.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's really not much else we can do. We're doing our best with everything.
Yeah.
And it's just been amazing to see the movement, how everybody's come together. Like all the sports teams have come together because like um the announcement, the documents and stuff, they got leaked like right after the basketball team got
Yeah.
home from
So
March
they
Madness,
didn't
so
even
we
get
didn't
really
get
a
a
time to
chance to
celebrate.
celebrate and
Yeah.
everything. So it was like,
Yeah.
oh, it was like
Immediate.
yeah, it was immediate, just confusion. Everybody's just like uncertain. People were thinking about, do I need to transfer now? Do I need to not?
Yeah,
And
no, I mean, there's going to be a ton of stuff up in the air, and
yeah.
and honestly, like, and it's going to take a lot of time before that all settles. So, but is there any place that you'd recommend people go to about this cause? Like, I obviously mentioned Instagram page before. Is there anything
Um,
that you should any pages like that you should go to?
yeah, so definitely go follow
The Keep Hartford.
the Keep Hartford Division One Instagram page for more news about like what's going on campus for UHart. Follow for athletics at least. Follow UHart SAC and UHart UHart THO for the hidden opponent.
Mm-hmm.
The hidden opponent is a fantastic group. I'm very happy to be part of it because it's for mental health and breaking the stigma for mental health amongst athletes, and it's been amazing.
Yeah, I mean that's great to hear, and I think I think the fact they have those kind of programs is awesome to see. But I mean I obviously wish you guys the best. Also, if is there anything like maybe you want to plug your personal social media real quick, anything like that?
Um, uh, go follow my Instagram, Kurt_Roach, and I guess that's all. That's the only social media I really use. So
All right, and with that being said, I think it's officially time to say that we are now down to the wire, which means that we're going to go through everything we talked about in this episode, kind of in a rapid fire pace, and then we'll let you guys get off and enjoy your weekend. This obviously will be released onto YouTube on a Friday, so you guys will be seeing this around then. But obviously, we started things off by introducing Curtis in the show. Curtis, thank you again so much for coming, man.
thank you for having me,
I
man. This has
really,
been fantastic.
no,
This has been exciting
I
and
really appreciate
enjoyable.
it. This was a very enjoyable episode to have. Obviously we talked about his journey as an athlete, everything, all the obstacles and things he's had to undergo so far. as well as his training journey and so many things over in there. And then we also talked about the University of Hartford and their decision to go D3 and how athletes there have reacted to that situation. If you guys haven't followed us on social media yet at this point, what are you guys doing? We are now on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, iTunes, gang. I'm sorry for you guys. But the main hub to follow us is our Instagram page. You can follow that at down.to-the-wire. Again, at down.to-the-wire for any updates regarding the podcast. I'm still going to be trying to do a bunch of summer sessions to, get to, really get out there and, be doing a lot of things like this. I'm going to be doing, obviously my updates regarding, major headlines in the news, but I also hope to be interviewing more athletes like Curtis going forward in the future. Going forward, I, can't wait to see what the summer holds. But from Down to the Wire, I'm Brian Costa.
I'm Curtis Rocheleau.
And we hope you guys have a great weekend. Take care.